Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hurry in to AJ Doman Chevrolet for Car Bravo's Bravo sales event. You can get 0% financing on select certified models or get $1,000 consumer cash on every certified half-ton truck. That's right, you can get $1,000 on every Ford, Ram, or Chevrolet certified truck.
We say yes when others say no. AJ Doman Chevrolet at the foot of the Morgan City Bridge in Berwick.
Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're spending some time with the representative from District 51, Beryl Amedee, who just wrapped up the legislative session in Baton Rouge. Beryl, again, thanks so much for being with us. You're on the Appropriations Committee, so let's talk about the budget. Always a hot topic. Seems like, actually, you guys have been pretty happy about budget for a while. We hadn't been cutting universities and education for a while. So it seems to be working better.
Well, it seems that when we come in with a deficit to solve, the only place the legislature can really find large portions of money is in education and healthcare. Right. So as long as we're not coming in trying to solve a deficit, we're not really looking to cut any education or healthcare. But we were able to put together a budget this year that, as far as I'm concerned, in my 9 years now in the legislature, this has been the most conservative budget that I've seen. And a lot of people are going to react to the word conservative thinking, oh, here she goes political. No, what I mean is the most common sense budget, right. The way we might do our household or our business budget. This budget has a lot of common sense properties to it. So I'll explain some of them.
Sure.
First of all, this year's total budget overall is going to be, the one we just passed for the coming year, is going to be $49.6 billion, which is actually down from last year's $50.9 billion. So I'm personally happy about that, because every time we see that number go up, it means that we're growing government. It means that each year we're going to have to come up with more money to keep this going at that rate. And as I've explained here before, in business, when you have what's called a standstill budget, it means we're not going to spend any more this year than we did last. But in the state of Louisiana, the state budget, a standstill budget has built-in expenses that increase automatically.
Right.
So it's 2 to 3% higher than last year if we don't do anything to increase it. Yes. So for me to sit here and say that the budget that we just passed is actually lower than last year is good to me, especially when you consider that we do have deficits forecast in the coming year or 2 or 3, actually the 5-year outlook. So let's see. One of the main things that we did this year that's different is we have something called the Revenue Stabilization Fund, and that is not the same as the Rainy Day Fund, which is the Budget Stabilization Fund. The Revenue Stabilization Fund is supposed to sit unused until the balance reaches, I think it was $5 billion, and it's only at 2.5. And so the money that was going to be rolling into that this year automatically was going to be $717 million. But we looked at this and we felt that if your business or your household budget had a savings account and you routinely put a certain percentage of money in that savings account automatically, but suddenly you saw that there were needs, like let's say at your house, you were going to be putting $500 into your savings account, but your refrigerator broke. You could easily say, let's spend the $500 on this immediate need. It's a one-time need. We don't need a new refrigerator every year, but we need one right now. Well, that's the attitude that we took with this money. So $717 million that was going to be going into the Revenue Stabilization Fund has been redirected, and we're going to put that on some immediate needs. So $390 million is going to be transferred into the Louisiana Transportation Infrastructure Fund. That means roads and bridges. $157.6 million is going to be transferred into the Criminal Justice and First Responder Fund. $94.3 million transferred to the Higher Education Campus Revitalization Fund, and $75 million is going to be transferred into the Water Sector Fund. So that gives you some examples. for higher education, you probably hear every year about the big backlog. The buildings on state college campuses are state-owned. So the state budget is where the money has to come from to upgrade and maintain those
plants and all
buildings.
that, right.
Yes. And so if you just go visit at Nichols and ask them, what about your maintenance on buildings? They will show you where the need is and tell you how much they're behind right now. And so this is going to be a big help. And I don't think I have to tell you much about roads and bridges and the need there. So this money is being redirected, and these are all going to go like for the infrastructure. This money is being set aside for shovel-ready projects. This is not money that's going to be held up while waiting for architecture and engineering design and all that. This is projects
Things
that are ready
already
right
at the
now.
top of the list, ready to go.
Yes, so we're very happy to hear that. And we were able to find some savings, and some of the big dollar amounts I want to mention, $45.3 million in Medicaid savings. And I believe you would remember when our last governor did a lot of Medicaid expansion, and then a pandemic hit, and then the federal government said you can't take people off of Medicaid even when they're no longer eligible. And then eventually they said, okay, now you can. Well, a lot of this Medicaid savings is coming from reducing the rolls, not because we're kicking people off of Medicaid, but we're taking people who are no longer eligible to begin with and saying, you're no longer eligible. Right. So that helps. And then we had almost 19 million in other savings. Part of it is 10 million in Board of Regents from a decrease in the number of TOPS awards. Now, nobody's been kicked off of TOPS. This is just a number that goes up and down. And right now, there were less students getting TOPS awards. Maybe it's because those students spent most of their high school during a pandemic and didn't quite qualify for TOPS, and maybe found other means of education even. And then there are a number of other items. Let's see. There's $7.5 million that's funding the Steve Carter literacy and numeracy screening programs. Those were discussed a lot. This is going to help students with both their reading and their math, students that are behind or struggling. And so many other initiatives. $16.5 million in state aid to local governments. So that's where the state gives the money to the parishes and local governments. We also increased the reimbursement rate for night providers for individuals and family support in Medicaid. So those are the night sitters. Right. Because people with disabilities need just as much help overnight as they do during the day.
They are. Okay, well, great update. We have another segment to go. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.